Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Happy summer. We're so excited to have so many of you today. We have an action-packed event. We are going to have an amazing meeting. We have multiple guest speakers. We're going to be hearing from Morgan today. Our theme is how to do micro developments with current and future frameworks. And it's going to be really, really interesting, a lot of educational information and a lot of inspiration today. So as we're getting started, let's go ahead and start with a one-word check-in in the chat. Let us know where you're calling from and what one word you're feeling about summer. And my word is Mexico because I'm actually calling in from Mexico on my vacation, my summer vacation right now. So let us know where you guys are at and how you're feeling about summer. We're really excited to have you here today. And again, thank you so much for being here and joining us for our Geoship Ambassador webinar. We're going to start with a few words from our co-founder, Morgan. It happens to be Morgan's birthday today, so we can all give him a shout out and wish him happy birthday and thank him for joining us on his day today. And Morgan's going to talk to us a little bit about the roadmap that Geoship has set out on the path to production and give us some updates on where we're at. So we'll start off with Morgan and then we'll go into the rest of the program. So Morgan, why don't you kick us off?
All right. Thanks, Sarah. Hey, everybody. Yeah. We have a lot of kind of regulatory progress that's been happening over the last weeks here. We got our um, all the structural testing done and energy testing. So we have kind of the stamps from the third party engineers. Now we're just going back and forth with the state a little bit to kind of figure out what kind of factory built housing certification we get, whether it's components or the whole home. So we're making a case. One of the things we're really doing differently that really no other company has done other than maybe one or only one that we know of, is really treating the on-site uh, the site as like a general assembly process, right? So we're making a lot of a case for how all the tooling and processes and whatnot on site is like an extension of the factory. So that is really pretty breakthrough stuff because, our processes for making ceramic components are pretty condensed. It's almost like making concrete blocks. So we can do that rapidly, and then being able to decouple the product or the component manufacturing from like the assembly, because usually they have to move these houses down, or not usually, but most factory built housing is coming down an assembly line with the whole house. So it takes tons of space and doesn't scale very well. So we're excited about that. We're making good progress. Things are looking good there. And another thing that's really starting to take shape is like how we get to this affordability. Like none of us would be doing this company or project if it wasn't for like massive scale and radical affordability at scale. That's why we're excited about the product from like first principle. Well, a lot of different reasons are excited about the product, but one of them really being that scalability from first principles. Um, so at the same time, we're getting a lot of interest from really like high end kind of clientele, for this thing where people are just very excited about kind of that wellness and health benefits of the home as well as the resilience. So we're starting to kind of feel out what that roadmap looks like to actually get to, the greatest scale that we can as fast as we can. And that doesn't, the fastest path there isn't to um, start losing a lot of money right off the bat. We have to we have to show some profitability so that we can get the right um, enough capital to then really scale manufacturing. And it also gives us an opportunity, that our Earth shot is to make the best home on Earth, the most affordable home on Earth, and that kind of starts with focusing on the best. So, in it, basically we have uh, 3 or 4 phases to our roadmap. One is the phase that we're kind of in now, which is a pilot phase where, we're looking at the initial homes here that we install in this region in Northern California. We have about $300 a square foot, which is still a bit less than what a conventional build is around here. It's like 350, 400 is kind of typical. So we're still a little under normal, but the value proposition is, much higher than a regular house in terms of resilience and health and um, energy efficiency and beauty, all these things. So it might even go up in price a little bit, by domes 10 through 50 kind of thing. We're talking about just like the next year or two, very early stage kind of pilot production. And then we'll start going down and we have a whole kind of roadmap worked out, or like more like a cost down model, like all the different things that we're going to do within the product to figure out, how we can reduce prices through scale. Like there's a lot of scale with the kind of conventional box houses, and we have no scale now, right? We're having to go to suppliers and buy like one-off stuff at retail prices. So that just doesn't, you can't get to radical affordability without scale. So I think we're essentially in the pilot phase now. We'll go into a nail it phase in like the 1 to 2 to 3 year from now kind of time horizon, where we'll really be refining the product. Each one will be slightly improved from like mostly from a manufacturing and install perspective. Like the customer experience, I think will be fantastic even from the very first dome. It'll just take us more work to get to that level of customer experience, like more craftsmanship and on-site work. So we're going to get continually improve at that level and then be able to really scale manufacturing for a product that is really well dialed in. And then we can begin really a cost down roadmap to get to our goal, which is to really be at like $100 a square foot, around there, 100, $150 a square foot for homes in the US.
Thanks, Morgan. That's great. I appreciate that. And that's really interesting. And it actually ties really well into our next guest speaker. We're going to be talking a little bit about the regulatory landscape overview, and that's a big important part of scaling up. We have Anna Drewitz here today from Geoship, and Anna is going to share a little bit about our certification journey. She's going to tell us a little bit about the bioceramic testing, talk about some of the recent wins that have been happening. So we'll turn it over to Anna today, and we're going to learn a little bit about what's on the horizon for Geoship from that perspective.
Yeah, thanks so much, Sarah. Hi, everyone. I'm Anna. As Sarah mentioned, I'm here at Geoship leading the permitting efforts. And I understand there's a lot of questions around what the permitting process is. So, hoping to shed some light on those and answer your questions today. So I'll go ahead and share my screen here. And hopefully everyone can see this. Great. So as a brief introduction about myself, I am based in LA. I've been here for around 7 years. 4 of those years, I worked at a different prefab home builder startup called Cover, where they primarily did backyard ADUs that are like flat packed and assembled as a panelized system. And as part of that, we worked with the state to go through their factory built housing program. And so that's something I'll get into here as we're doing that at Geoship as well. As a lot of you know, Geoship, we're starting with permitting our first dome as a single family home in Nevada City, California. And as just a high level overview of, we're starting with this one and like where are we going overall with our permitting strategy. We're really designing the home as an integrated product. It's fully engineered. It's not like traditional home building where every home is basically a custom prototype that is not well understood and needs to be reviewed every time. Instead, we're designing those interactions, getting those connections approved, building everything in the factory with our QC processes in place. And that really allows us to, at the state level, get pre-approved for a lot of those structural connections and basically everything above the foundation so that we can scale throughout the state and then into other states, which I'll touch on more later. But where we are right now in California, we're in the final stages of our state approval to obtain FBH. California is one of, if not the most rigorous regulatory environments in the country. So once we obtain this, the other states should be quite a bit easier. And then, yeah, this allows us to do homes built in the factory that are designed once, engineered once, and approved once. And the local jurisdictions for wherever we build those specific domes are only responsible for foundation, zoning, exterior aesthetics, and that's really it. And then our structural design, as Morgan mentioned, has been approved and stamped by a licensed structural engineer. And then our non-structural plans are also, ready to go and have been submitted to the state. So we're expecting to have approvals this summer, which is really exciting. To get more into the specifics around what is factory-built housing, this is a California state program that's run by the Department of Housing and Community Development. However, that's the government agency, and then they basically delegate the responsibility of actually reviewing the plans and performing the factory inspections to a design approval agency, which is a private company that acts on their behalf. And so our design approval agency is a company called Twining. And Twining is approved, to work with all the other states that have a similar FBH program as well. So, we'll be working with the same agency when we expand to other states later on. The purpose of this FBH program is to provide California residents with reduced housing costs through mass production techniques resulting from, building them in the factory. And the main advantages are reduced discretionary reviews at local jurisdictions, since the state has the authority for everything that gets reviewed above the foundation. State review times are way faster than local building departments. Typically, the state, if you do an expedited review, it will take 3 to 5 business days for them to review and stamp your plans. At the local level, it's pretty typical for it to take 30 days for them just to get back one round of corrections. And then there's usually a lot of back and forth after that. And then, yeah, again, you're working with the same agency every time, usually the same plan checker. So they're already familiar with your product, your house, and there's no onboarding process to get them to understand what you're building. They're already with it and ready to go. And then here, just a side-by-side comparison between the factory-built housing process versus the traditional process. Basically, the structural details are only approved once. These are also not public record, meaning that any sensitive IP of those structural connections is not in the public domain, and that's just approved at the state level. Assigned to the same plan checker every time, 3 to 5 day building review, and the approval is not site specific, so there's flexibility to take this dome structure that was approved for certain load cases in California and anywhere else in California with those load cases, you can build it there as well. The traditional process needs to be re-reviewed every time by a different person. The structural details are public record, and it just results in more back and forth, more corrections issued, and kind of like a cycle of addressing corrections and then getting more from a different plan checker. So, it's 30 plus days there. In terms of our code compliance and fire resilience in California, these are the different California code sections that we comply with as a single family home. The California Building Code, Mechanical Code, Plumbing, Electrical, Energy, Residential, and then Green Code. And something just wanted to highlight here that's a bit of, an exciting thing that we achieved recently was our GeoRock proprietary material went through the ASTM E136 testing, which allows us to classify it as a non-combustible material. And this is, as I'm sure you all know is very important for the state of California. The state of California has a lot of very high fire severity zones. Wildlife urban interface zones is what they're called, which are areas that are very prone to wildfires. And so also when we're going through like the local jurisdictions, they see that we're a non-combustible material, and that makes them very excited about our product as well. And it allows us to build, in all of those zones. In terms of expansion beyond California, as I mentioned, there's 35 other states that have their own version of a FBH program, and Twining is nationally approved for all of those states that have a similar program. So we'll be working with the same people when we expand, and there will be less like onboarding to get them up to speed on what we're doing. Local approvals will be reduced to site-specific review only, foundation, site utilities, zoning. And then once approved in California, which is a very rigorous regulatory environment, it will be easier to move to those other states. And that's, a little bit about the FBH program, where we're heading, and how this is going to help us expand across the country.
Thank you, Anna. If anyone has any questions, I've seen a few questions pop up in the chat. Feel free to throw those in there. If we can't answer them right now on the spot, we're happy to send you answers later and create content about those. So we appreciate that. Thank you so much. Now we have another guest to dig in even a little deeper, specifically around the subject of permits, zoning, and codes, and navigating the complexities of those. And we have our special guest today that I would love to introduce you to, and that's John Bello. So John, welcome to our Geoship Ambassador meeting. We're thankful that you're here.
Thank you, Sarah, and good morning, everyone, and those on the East Coast, good afternoon. Happy to be here. Really excited about Geoship, what it brings to the market. And, we need to see more carbon neutral building materials. That's something I'm going to get into. So just a quick background on me. I have a lot of diverse experience circling the U.S., all four corners of the U.S., and in multiple countries. And it's really just led by a passion for sustainability and regenerative community development. Everything that I've done is gearing towards being an asset in that space, learning all the latest innovations in material science, ecology, health and wellness, energy, water, you name it, really trying to be, hit all facets. So a lot of these projects have received Envision, LEED, and WELL Platinum Awards. The last project I was on was the Viridian County Farms project in Ann Arbor. I was targeting Living Community Challenge, which is the highest standard of sustainable development, and now translating that experience into a couple other projects. So transitions to, during those projects, I also piloted a couple different innovative building materials, and these are low carbon, and Ferroc is carbon negative, meaning that it sequesters more carbon than it actually needs to be manufactured. Where typical concrete, you're burning limestone, off-gassing CO2, and you have the cost of fuel to burn the furnace. Ferroc didn't need that, able to inject CO2 directly into the mold, bonding to iron powder and creating iron carbonate. EcoRaster is a permeable road surface material, allowing water to infiltrate into underground, and then where you can route the water where we want it to go and infiltrate in areas where the geology is more favorable. So both of those experiences, I had to deal with multiple different municipalities going through a piloting project. And I'm going to kind of go through how I approach that. It's really a twofold. One, it's about the product. And as Geoship looks to scale, Anna, it seems like you're right on the precipice of expanding outside of California. And a lot of those skills that you've already developed, a lot of that documentation you already have is now transferable to multiple municipalities. So it's important to focus on the product of GeoRock. It's a bioceramic material that's something different that building officials are going to have to learn about what it is, and then the actual dome structure itself, getting that through the permitting phase for the actual development. So just talking about the case study of EcoRaster, great ideas are great, but actually making it a reality is a lot more challenging. And I was fortunate to have gone through that experience to gain the knowledge going forward. The project is currently occupied. The roads are in. You would never know how much stress and how many sleepless nights I had thinking about these roads. So the end product is amazing, but going through the process of implementing a new material as a real estate developer has a tremendous amount of risk. And the end product, we had 70% reduction in embodied carbon, creates a biophilic atmosphere, which is kind of the feeling you get when you walk in the woods as opposed to walking on a busy street. You get that feeling, you feel good. That's because that's how your body's supposed to be. It's in a less stressed state. And then obviously I talked about how we're managing the stormwater. So that's the good stuff. The bad stuff is it took 18 months to get this stuff approved, multiple site visits. We had to have the product manufacturers kind of holding our hand through the process, feeding us information to give that to the municipality. So moving forward, my advice, my lessons learned from that is, keep it simple and try to create an apples to apples comparison as best as you can. Building officials do not like new things. When you try to say, hey, this is the latest and greatest, like they really don't care. They have a template, a building code that they have to abide by. So speak to something that they understand. They understand steel studs. Steel framing is commonplace, and explain how this product does the exact same thing as steel studs. I'd also recommend, I know, Morgan, you probably won't like to hear this, but the idea of maybe designing a replacement parts that could possibly be made out of galvanized steel, just on paper. Don't actually go out and build it, but I'm saying having that documentation for the question, when the question comes up, is what happens if Geoship goes out of business? That was something that came up going through EcoRaster. It was a quick transition to, you can just use any other permeable paver material. Well, if these structures are up for 50, 100, or however many years, and we're not able to manufacture more GeoRock, how then can the facility be successful? And that's something that's going to be a hurdle you'll need to overcome going through multiple different municipalities, and it all comes down to the people that are actually approving that. So apples to apples. And then the product testing, and it seems like you've already done a lot of this. You mentioned the fire code, a couple other categories that, in my experience, are pivotal. So making sure that you have the documentation and testing for the structural strength, the weather and durability, the health and wellness is, obviously you're going to get straight A's in that category, but having that documentation ahead of time, pre-packaged for the general contractor or the real estate developer that's actually going through the approval process as a package that they can use. And then, as you enter into different countries and different, different municipalities, like some of those regulations will shift. In the US, they're pretty much all the same. But there's certain things, like in California, they have a higher threshold for health and wellness. Since you guys already have gone through that process, you're going to be you're kind of at the precipice up for the rest of the country. And Anna, you have that slide, so you should be able to just reference that later on. So then transition to the actual building permit approval. So once you kind of go through and over the shoulder explaining to the building officials what the product is, then you're actually talking about the structure itself. And there's a couple different things you need to be mindful of. I mentioned being compliant in the country you're in, being compliant within the state you're in, and then really the hurdle that you're trying to get over is at the municipal level, and at the department level. The individuals, in charge of the building department, in charge of the electrical department, and in charge of the fire department. These are all people that you're going to have to interface with in order to get the project approved. And there's multiple different ways that you can go about this. So, Anna was talking about the factory built method. That could be, a prefab, modular, or manufactured, which are different. Prefab is you have certain components that are pre-manufactured that come on a truck and get folded up. Modular, the whole thing comes on a truck and gets set in place. New construction would just be essentially a stick built where you have those different triangles that then get kind of fit into place with a framer. And another thing to keep in mind as you go into these different approvals is who's actually leading the process. So most likely it's going to be the property owner or the general contractor, but they're also going to need the support of Geoship. So that documentation, that methodology going through those approvals, you want to keep it streamlined as much as possible, but understand kind of who's leading it and make sure that they have the tools to be successful. So I talked about constructability. So a couple of pictures here to better understand the difference. The Geoship, you understand it. The customers, might not realize there's a different ways to build. I mentioned a prefab soda can because that's when I built a power plant. We had these smokestacks that came out. They kind of look like prefab soda cans where you had semicircles that were then welded together, and then the scaffolding was installed on the side of the can, the section of the smokestack, so that it facilitated the construction rather than having to build a ladder on site and get access. You could just have a section that, with a detachable ladder, detachable scaffold to help that assembly come together. Just speeds things up. And then working with, carpenter unions in the past, they have their own big factories. Be a great opportunity to pilot the project and product in their factory. Get them going through a certified installer training, so they understand how to put this together. And then have the information to. Oh, Morgan, you have something?
I just want to clarify one thing. We are the general contractor, and we don't part of the factory build housing is that we don't have to have the electricians and plumbers and different contractors on site. We do 100% of the install ourselves, and we also go through all the regulatory ourselves. So the customer is only having to interact basically with Geoship. Even the grading and site work, we manage local subcontractors for that part, but then 100% of the install is Geoship, and we're the general contractor.
Okay. Are you planning to expand that out across multiple states as well?
Yeah, eventually a little, we'll have more like trained certified installers that are like part of our network, maybe like subsidiaries or something, but it's far out, it's at least 1,000 homes.
Sure.
Out.
Sure. So maybe some of this stuff isn't necessarily relevant today, but definitely, just kind of thoughts that kind of came up as I saw this product and some advice going forward. Cool. And then my last slide here about regenerative community development. So my advice is keep it simple, sincerely. And there's a lot of ways to approach regenerative development. There's a lot of problems that we're trying to solve, a lot of crises. And, housing crisis is one of those, low carbon development is one of those. We have the climate crisis, we have the housing, we have the affordability crisis, we have the mental health crisis, food shortages, water shortages, all these things that housing can solve, but it doesn't necessarily all need to happen in the same community all at once. So, new developers, just kind of take a simple, bite off little sections of this. It doesn't need to have everything to be a successful project. And then you can take those lessons learned and scale up and add in a different methodology, going from having solar power with a battery in the home to a full-scale community microgrid, where all of the homes are connected, independent from the utility, is a massive undertaking, and there's a big scaling that needs to take place in that. Adding in local food production and making it economical, because that food production, that land that you're using, is only going to make the homes that are built more expensive, because that land you're not using to build housing, that square footage then needs to get allocated towards the actual homes as a premium value. So you want to make sure the economics balance there as well. And that's why, we get these monopoly style housing where everything is smushed together with asphalt roads and no green space. So obviously we don't want that either. So, but having that balance going into these projects is hugely important. And obviously the equity piece as well, making building with mixed income housing, different price points for different buyers. That requires multiple different design drawings, which can spend a lot of time to go through the process for approval. Geoship, it's kind of simple. You have a big one, small one, and can kind of scale up quickly, so that shouldn't be as much of an issue. But yeah, lots to tackle, and wish you all the best of luck. Alegria, I thought, was one that came to mind. I got a chance to walk the site with Stephen Brooks. He's a great visionary. I think he's there with his shirt off, setting up for dinner. But you can see the dome structure there with the Fibonacci garden. So these communities really can be beautiful, and this is his second one. So there was, it was interesting talking to him about the lessons learned going in from Ecovia to Alegria and beyond. So that's all the time I have today. Wish you all the best of luck, and hope to stay in touch.
Thank you so much, John. And I think we have John's contact info here if anyone has questions. I know I saw that couple in the chat, so please feel free to reach out to John directly. And that was really great information, John. So thanks for sharing all that. We have another special guest today. I told you guys this is going to be an action-packed day. So we have another special guest, really super interesting concept. You guys are going to love this. It's all around pop-up cities. So I am pleased to welcome Timur Kosters to talk about pop-up cities and talk about decentralization as a development tool. So welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to share my screen here. Give me 1 second. All right. I will give one quick preface. I've just landed back in Europe from California, so I'm on very little sleep and a little jet lagged, but I'm very excited to be here with you all. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Cool. So I'm going to spend about 10 minutes talking through what we're up to at Edge City. And I want to essentially ground this in the concept of network states, or as we refer to them, network cities or network societies, through the lens of the work that we're doing. So I'll touch on what is Edge City, what have we done so far, and then what does the future look like. And I think through that lens, we will have an interesting product, because I feel like you all are building the infrastructure that we then get to build on top of. So Edge City is what we call a society incubator. And what that means is that we gather people who are at the frontiers of technology, science, culture, society in pop-up villages or pop-up cities around the world. So essentially, you can imagine 1,000 people living together for a month or two in an environment that's specifically created for experimentation and innovation. And the core insight here is that we believe that breakthroughs happen when these kinds of people actually spend meaningful time together. So you have, for example, many of us go to conferences, but you have like a 10-minute interaction with someone, you exchange contacts, and you say, let's keep in touch and never see them again. Whereas here, you actually get a chance to spend time with them, do a hike, go to a sauna, go to their talk, get breakfast. And even in the span of just a couple of weeks, very deep bonds tend to form. And we see this importantly as the bootstrapping layer for the next stage of kind of societal structure, which we call network states or network societies. So we like to think of it as it's the size of a village, but it has the dynamism of a city. So it has the most interesting people who are, around you, you're living close to each other, you're attending workshops, you're building your own projects and sharing what you're doing. It's kind of like the difference between listening to a podcast about AI versus being at breakfast with one of the core researchers at Anthropic, who many of them come to our events. So just to ground this, I like these couple of charts. We've seen throughout history that there are periods in time and place where certain groups tend to drive outsized impact and breakthroughs. And this chart on the left, I like because it shows that there is this gap between, or the events on the left, there's plenty of these, right? They last a few days, they gather up to a few thousand people. And then on the right side, there's universities, there's towns in the order of hundreds of thousands of people for many years. But there's nothing really in that in-between zone. And that's the area that we like to play. And the reason is that there's something really special that happens here in between the kind of the university campus and the conventional conference, which you can see on the right side, on the right diagram, where it's a real unlock in terms of the types of interactions that people can have. This is the chart I like to use. If on the left, it's all of our zones of genius, so the thing that you're good at, the thing that you enjoy, and the thing that the world needs. And then on the right, this is the zone of genius. So there's a concept from Brian Eno of the collective genius of people who are together in the right time and place. Just a very quick retro on what we've done so far. These numbers are actually a little outdated now because we just finalized our latest village at Esmeralda, which some of you all were at, so that's awesome. But we've now had over 10,000 people come through 7 of our activations around the world. We've had hundreds of kids, many startups founded, lots of workshops and sessions and healthy meals, etc. So we've been in Thailand and Argentina and California last year. This year we were in South Africa and at South by and California so far, and we'll be in Bhutan and Patagonia, which I'll touch on briefly. So just a sense of the experience, we focus on 4 main principles. The gatherings are default healthy, so we want people to feel like you can just be your absolute healthiest self without having to try really hard. So there's kind of workouts and healthy food, lots of group activities that enable that. They are extremely multidisciplinary. So we have people who are building geodesic domes and the future of human housing. And then we have the core research team from OpenAI, and everyone's living alongside each other. Lots of different fields are represented there. They are co-created and building co-creation focused, which means we do very little top-down organizing of the programming and of the program itself. Most of it is created by the attendees. And they are multi-generational, which means that there are kids, there are brand new, newly hatched babies to folks bring their grandparents. And we've had folks in the 80s really get engaged. And this concept of integration versus exit, I think is important to touch on. This is not, we're not just trying to create some, island in the middle of the ocean that us and all of our rich, most productive friends are going to, right? We like the term of micro exits. So we create temporary exits from society where we can experiment and try new things. And then we integrate back into society and make sure that we integrate with the local community wherever we are to actually spread those learnings. So some of our collaborators have included Vitalik Buterin, the founder of Ethereum, Laura Deming, who's one of the leading voices in longevity, and lots of other amazing folks. That just shows you a little bit of the breadth of topics that we have. Okay, so this is the good stuff. This is the why now. Why is this actually important? So right now, tech is moving incredibly fast, but society is not. And we want to be the place where the things that touch on societal innovation, things related to education systems, the places that we live, the ways that we live, the communities that we surround ourselves with, we want to be the place where those things get iterated and have actually a fast clip of experimentation that will allow for the type of innovation that we see in, for example, software. So we create these micro exits where people can actually experiment with new systems and then see what works and what doesn't. And that will help shape the future institutions and norms and governance systems, etc. So we create a context where people can come and actually run their own experiments. We have a pretty simple 5-step roadmap. The first step is we create these pop-up villages and make sure they're really fun, engaging places for people to come. We just had over 1,000 people together in California. It just ended a few days ago. We keep getting more and more good feedback. It's been almost overwhelming how much people love these experiences. So that's step one. Step two is then to actually use these pop-ups to build the global network of people who are actually shaping the future. So this includes, all of you all, people who are thinking about how to build the next step for society and how do we, build that network together. The third step is that we want to open source everything we're learning and create a stack that will allow everyone to do what we're doing. So this is already happening. This is not just technology, it's also the social practices, the norms. We've published the pop-up playbook that allows anyone to do this. Since our first event, Suzalu with Vitalik, there's been probably several dozen spin-offs, which has been really cool to see. Then step four is that some of the temporary villages will become permanent anchors and actually new towns. So there is a town called Esmeralda that we are helping build in Northern California. It's an incredible project run by a woman called Devin Zugel. I can drop a link in the chat later. But it's just wonderful to see how much momentum that has. And we are very much a natural partner for that kind of project and would love to hear if anyone else knows of others that are relevant to that. And ultimately, we're going to build a global innovation engine as we start to link these nodes around the world. So these are the building blocks of what I call a network city. I think other folks relate to them as network states, but essentially the concept of having hubs around the world or neighborhoods in our conception that are linked through the people that and the programs and the systems that interweave throughout them. And there is an amazing book called The Network State by Balaji. He was able to kind of very coherently grasp together ideas that have been around for several decades into a single book. I think the thing that he now has shared that he's been inspired by Edge City is that there's the critical piece missing, which is that you need to start by actually gathering people first. And then the connections get made that will allow you to bootstrap the network state or network society that you want to create. So I'm incredibly excited to see everything that the work that Geoship is doing. I think you all are the infrastructure layer. You are kind of the hardware, and we are the software, right? In like tech terms. And this kind of decentralized building blocks are things that we will be very excited to build on top of and be kind of bringing our people to. So I'll just end with just a very quick plan for us for the rest of 2025. We'll be going to Bhutan. It's a beautiful, stunning mountain kingdom in the middle of the Himalayas. I'll let the pictures do most of the work here, but we're just bringing a small group there. They're actually building a brand new city called the Galefu Mindfulness City. They're taking the Singapore model and starting a new city, but based in Buddhist values. It's going to be incredible. It's a 20-year project. This is the first initiative that we're doing there. I've spent time with the king and queen, and it has just been an incredible experience to spend time in Bhutan. So highly recommend checking that out. That's at edgecity.live/Bhutan 2025. And then after that, we'll be doing a full pop-up village. Sorry, I should have said Bhutan will be a 30-person trip. That's like a first very initial step into a partnership with the government there. That will not be a full Edge City 1,000-person thing. This is like a very small trip in September. But Edge City, Patagonia, in the middle of the Argentinian mountains, that will be a full thing. It's an incredible town called San Martin. It's lots of land. There's actually a land project there. It's just ripe for some beautiful domes. And it's going to be fun. So I'm gonna stop there because I'm talking a lot, but Thank you so much. And yeah, stay in touch.
Oh my gosh, so beautiful. That's amazing. Amazing to see. What an amazing concept. And certainly so many synergies between Geoship and it just feels like the future right in front of us. So amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Any
Thank
questions? I
you.
wish we had time to do live questions today, but we're going to have to keep moving because we're running a little behind and we still got a lot of good stuff to cover today. So thank you so much. Appreciate it. And I'm going to turn it over to our very own Lauren Russo next to talk about our We Funder campaign. And you guys, as ambassadors, have always been a huge driving force behind that campaign. So Lauren's going to give us a little bit of a status update and talk a little bit about some of the tools that we have available and some cool new stuff that we've got going on. So take it away, Lauren.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here today. Okay, so I have some updates for you. So first and foremost, our WeFunder community round, which is structured as a revenue share, is still live. We just hit 520K, and the early bird deal is still available. So there's still time for you guys to lock in the best possible terms. So that's something you can share with your networks as well. And if you haven't invested yet, just a quick reminder, you can get in for just $500 and the perks start at 900. And this is probably the very last time that we're going to be offering big dome discounts and exclusive experiences as perks. So if you are planning to become a future Geoship customer and live in a dome, becoming an investor is a smart way to go because you're going to be able to maximize your value depending on how much you're willing to invest into sort of thinking of it that way because you'll be getting the savings off your dome, but then you also have that chance to share in the potential upside of our success as we scale this company. If you did invest in previous rounds where we also had some similar perks, those perks are stackable. So just keep that in mind. The round will most likely be closing in a couple weeks. So if you're thinking about it, now's a great time to jump in. Thanks, John Mark, for showing the perks. They're a little bit buried there on the WeFunder site. So that's where you can find them and familiarize yourself. Okay. And then in other news, so we're going to be making some new updates to our web experience. We're going to be launching 2 new pages. The first page is going to replace our current domes page. And the intention behind this page is to just give a little more context and storytelling behind our first product, which is the Amos Founders Edition, and then also give some more context. You can scroll a little faster, John Mark, around essentially how we stack up. You can keep going. How we stack up against a traditional home. I also think this is helpful for when you're thinking about how to share on social. Like some of this information really seems to resonate with people. And then you can keep going down a little bit. We'll just flash this. And then really making sure that we're anchoring with context the fact that we are still very committed to our Earth shot of making the best home the most affordable home, and here's how we get there. So actually, just for the sake of time, let's switch over to the other page that we're going to be launching too, which is a new AMA Founders Edition details page. So we get a ton of questions about, the specifics around what this product is going to be, what are the specs, how much it's going to cost, etc. And so this new page should answer a lot of those questions. And it was super necessary with the virtual tour on here. The floor plans are on here, which everyone really wants to see. So it's not live yet, but it should be today, tomorrow at the very latest. We've been really pushing hard to make sure that these are ready to go. And lastly, we need your help on something. So we are going to be launching a new AI chatbot. It's currently in beta. We've been working on this for a couple of weeks. Her name is Domi. And the way that you're going to access Domi is we're going to send out this test link and we need some help giving her some training data. So you're going to click on in the lower right-hand corner, see this little brown thing? That launches Domi and we're going to redesign her. I know she looks a little scary. That's like her placeholder profile picture. But essentially, it's a chatbot. So you can launch it, you can ask questions. And what we want you to do is to try to ask the types of questions that you have, like realistic ones, so that we can give her that training data to understand what people are interested in learning more about. And if she gives you an answer that you feel is satisfying and you like it, then you're going to want to do that thumbs up. If you didn't like it, if it wasn't satisfying, that's also really important for us too, because it's going to help us make her better. You're going to do a thumbs down. And sometimes you might stump her and she might say, oh, I need to connect you with a human, or I'm not quite sure about that. So this is all stuff that we just need to have some real people testing it so that we can understand how she behaves before we launch her on the site officially to the public and have her be really this engine of information to help onboard people to our mission. So if you guys could find some time, even like 15 minutes, to just ask some of the most common questions and see how she responds to you, that'd be super appreciated. So yeah, I think that's all for me. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, super cool. I love that. So get out there, you guys. Let's see if we can stump Domi. Again, all this information is really valuable because it helps us to train Domi and helps the experience for others to be even better. So thank you so much for that. And it's a great segue over to John Mark, who we're going to spend the last 10 minutes talking about some ambassador business. We're going to go over your next monthly mission. We're also going to talk about some of the decentralized meetups, which I'm excited to be a part of and help to lead some of the groups. So John Mark, why don't we talk a little bit about what, for the next 10 minutes, what this group can do to help us and what their mission is for the month.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks so much, everybody, all the speakers. It's been great. And I can see the Hive here. You guys have checked this out before. Hive.geoship.is is your current platform. With Domi's help, we're going to accelerate into the AI era and have a conversation with all this content, so I don't have to keep on saying, hey, did you get the Hive? It's just going to be real time. But for now, please use the Hive. And yeah, so I'm so excited about Geoship in production. Can I get a cheer of your choice in the chat about how excited you are for all of us to contribute to this next phase of production? So just give a cheer, whatever words you want. Yes, super healthy, climate resilient, bioceramic homes are becoming real, and it's thanks to you. But you already know this is so much more about the dome. We're co-creating a regenerative civilization with hundreds of organizations rooted in land, love, and community ownership. And I want to give a shout out to the visionary partners we featured over the last Ambassador Hives. That includes GaiaNet, New Earth Development, Smart Hoods, Community Finders, Aloha's Foundation, Edge City, and so many more who are stepping up and building with us. These are not just projects. They're emergent pieces of this new world rising through collaboration, creativity, and trust. Over years of effort, it takes time. So thanks for your patience with Geoship and this entire regenerative movement. So we're starting out with you, and we're doing it by bioregion. And we've got 20 that are active right now, and it's amazing to see the actual activity over the past couple of months. I want to give a shout out to the bioregional groups that are planning and meeting already. Southern Europe is gathering. Great Lakes are organizing. New Mexico is activating. North Carolina is connecting. Texas is showing up. Hawaii is blooming. Africa is stepping in. Australia is lighting the path in a big way. And to all of you already meeting in person, potlucks, nature walks, farmers markets, impact events, whatever you want, including our council members, Kyle and Carmen's, for their California pop-ups. Thank you. And for those planning your first gathering, now's the time. Let's be clear, decentralized gatherings are not just a nice to have, they're essential. I think you heard a lot from Timor. It's just mind-blowing. I'm like floored by the amount of intelligence and culture at these gatherings. It's really remarkable. Highly encourage you to go and explore all these gatherings. I'm a good source of that knowledge of where you need to go next. But soon Domi or other great AI tools will be there to help you out. And this is how we form the movement. And what we're doing, we learn together. We co-create regenerative communities with our peers around the world. Sarah and I are here to support you however we can with meetup support, content, guidance, intros, or just encouragement. Just reach out to us. You're not alone. And as I mentioned, AI is just going to help this process. So just going to scroll through the Hive here quickly. Of course, as you know, you've been here before. You got 3 monthly missions so far. A lot of you have done the first one, a lot of you, and thank you so much. I met with so many that have had just put their virtual background. I'm sure you've had a lot of engagement. People are like, what the hell is that? That's amazing. And if you're new here, you haven't been on a call before, you can set your Geoship dome rendering as your background on Zoom, Google Meet, or Microsoft Teams. It's just a beautiful way to spark curiosity. People will ask, what's that? And then you have a great response. It always changes. You point them to geoship.com and we're off to the races. Mission number 2 is share your dream, your dome dream on WeFunder right here. So records 15-second video and post it online. Snap a photo of your dome, dream dome spot, and then make a comment. It's just so simple to engage with people online. You'll find some more people to meet in person. In a world full of doom and gloom, they need to hear the positive vision from you. You're the spark, you're the signal, be the shepherd of this new path. So the third most important mission here this month, as Lauren said, if you haven't invested, this is your moment. If you haven't reserved, this is your gateway. Just $500, get your foot in the door for dome access, early programs that we're co-creating, co-ownership in this movement. And wherever you are, just connect. Let's all get all these 20 startup bioregions cranking with meetups. Stay tuned from your leader. You've gotten email, some of you haven't. And if you haven't, please just let me know via email. I didn't get an email. No problem. Let me connect you with the bioregion. It's kind of manual at this point, but we're going to make it automatic at a certain point in the future. I mentioned also the blog. Lauren, if you want to just post the blog in the chat. This is a field guide for the future. They're packed with treasure. And so take a look at the blog. Please share the posts. They're really cool. And lastly, not leastly, please test Domi. She's still young and growing. She needs you. Ask her questions, test her limits. It's still really new. Lots of kinks in the system to work out. Let's shape her into co-creative tool for regenerative living. So from production to pop-ups, from local potlucks to planetary vision, we're building a regenerative network state, one dome, one gathering, one bioregion at a time. Thank you.
Yes, we could not do it without you. We're so appreciative, all of you. Just one quick housekeeping item. This is going to be our last global meetup, monthly meetup until September. So we're going to be really focusing on building out those smaller meetups. Contact me or John Mark if you need any help with that. We'll look forward to resuming this. We'll have another really big one in September. In the meantime, I hope everyone enjoys their summer. Have a wonderful time. Thank you for everything that you do. You guys are the heart and soul of this movement. We really appreciate
Everybody put your video on right now because we're going to take a screenshot of all your beautiful faces all over the world. Yes. And you can unmute and yell if you want.
Ow! If Misha was here, that's what Misha would say. Ow! Well, great to have you all. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you all again very soon and have a great summer. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
No, good to see you.
Bye.
Good to see you all.
Take care.
Thank you.
Summer.
Bye-bye, summer.